and executives aren't going to be happy from these major networks. At least in the Preakness, we get the hope of coming up with a Triple Crown winner. Country House, Teddy, out of the Triple Crown. We're not even going to get a chance to see somebody win the Kentucky Derby and at least compete in the Preakness. Not good.
Yeah, I mean, the whole scenario hasn't really been good, especially, again, this is a much bigger story because sports betting is legal now. Even though horse racing was legal everywhere beforehand, this story, A, it has legs. It's sticking around. B, everybody's still talking about it. And C, the fact that we're in an environment now where sports betting stories can be mainstream stories. This isn't going away. All that being said, yeah, it's a disaster for TV ratings. There's no chance for a Triple Crown after the first race. It's not really good for bettors when everybody with the winning ticket has to rip theirs up. And the long shot cashes at 65-1. Let's be real. Country House wasn't going to win the Preakness anyway. He was lucky to win the Derby.
Teddy, sometimes these games get lined exactly the way you might thought they would go, or maybe the algorithms line up. Last night, exactly the case here. Rockets return the favor on a home court with back-to-back wins over the Warriors. No surprise to me, Teddy, that the series goes 2-2 back to Golden State. Yesterday, if you had a total in that game, you were clutching that ticket late in the game because anywhere between, what do we have, 219 and 220 where it closed out at 112-108 Rockets win. James Harden was fantastic, 38 points and 10 boards. If you would have told me before the game, Teddy, that both Steph Curry and KD would play that well, I'd say, you know what? The Warriors are going up 3-1 heading home. Not the case. 2-2 going back to Golden State. Right on that line, Teddy.
Sure. And look, this was a legitimate middle in the total last night. Sometimes we talk about, the line opened here and it closed there. And but it wasn't available for very long. There were 221s available, 220 and a halfs available, 219 and a halfs available, 219s available. This was a game where especially the books that cater to wise guys, they pounded both sides of this total, and it lands right on 220. Not a good result for the house. Chris Paul said for the total, for the side, it was a great result because all the money came on the Warriors. Golden State closed as chalk in some spots, -1 off an opener where they were 2-point dogs. So the money on the side, very good for the house. The money on the total, well, the books gave a lot of it back with that landing in the middle. Chris Paul, after the game, said, we need to play better. I agree 100%. He's right. Harden missed a free throw down the stretch. Paul missed a free throw down the stretch. Bad shot selection during crunch time. Couldn't get stops during crunch time. They nearly blew a 9-point lead with 2 and change remaining because of that execution problem. Better hope that execution problem doesn't come back to haunt them in Golden State in Game 5.
Yeah, 17-point lead in that game, Teddy. And then you look at the end of the game, 2 clean looks. The 2 guys you don't want to be shooting. Kevin Durant with a clean look straight up for a 3-point shot, and then right behind it after an offensive rebound, Steph Curry got one. Wasn't meant to be, but again, the Rockets will move on 2-2 going back to Golden State. I'll tell you an interesting thing. We always come here and we give you the information on That Betting Show, both Teddy and I. Sometimes you could take the information, maybe you don't want the information, but if we reach back and see Paul Pierce after Game 1, Teddy, in the Eastern Conference here between the Bucks and the Celtics, he said there's no way the Bucks are going to get up off the carpet after the first game loss. Matter of fact, they would get swept in this series. Not the case here, Teddy. The Bucks going back 3 straight winners, including 2 in Boston. Now take it back to Milwaukee and look to close out. The best team in the NBA all season, certainly playing like it.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, last night's game felt like one where Boston was going to put a run on and put a little distance between them and Milwaukee, and it just didn't happen. And then, lo and behold, crunch time, start of the fourth quarter, Bucks go on their run, and that's ball game. No answers for Boston when it mattered most, and a lot of it's Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving's last 3 games, 19 of 62 from the field, the 43 missed field goal attempts, the most that he's ever had in a 3-game playoff span. His quote, I missed shots. Shots just didn't go in. You go out and repair. Like I said, sometimes they go in, sometimes they don't. This is a little kudos for Mike Budenholzer. Quote, they do a great job of loading, too. They're making the paint look crowded whenever I'm driving, whenever I'm going on the court, seeing 2 or 3 bodies, sometimes 4. Of course, Irving left it off. Now it's time to get ready for Game 5. The market's not expecting Boston to fight tooth and nail with Milwaukee. Big chalk to close out the series in what may well be the finale for Kyrie Irving in a Celtics uniform.
Yeah, Ted, if we take a look at the series prices here, you can get a nice tidy price of 20-1 on the Celtics for coming back. But it's always interesting to me to find the ebbs and flows, especially in the NBA. I mean, we just saw games 3 and 4 played in the Boston Garden, Teddy, with the favored home team being the Celtics. Now it goes back for game 5, and a -9.5 is hanging out there. Just looking at it real quick, Teddy, without capping it, that seems to be spelling doom right now, right, for the Celtics, as it's pretty much a wrap.
It's the point spread seems to indicate that the initial market reaction is Boston's fought the good fight. What do we say at the start of the playoffs? When a team is done, they're done. And certainly this point spread indicates the Celtics might well be done going into Milwaukee. Although, hey, we've seen funnier things happen than the Celtics pulling off an upset like this. If the Bucks exhale, might be a problem in Game 5.
Crazy, Teddy, because when you look at this Eastern Conference as a whole, we talked about it earlier. I mean, look, at the Sixers win, they might blow a couple things up. If Toronto loses, they might blow a couple things up. And same thing with the Celtics and Kyrie. How many trades, assets is Danny Ainge going to use in the offseason? Something certainly to keep an eye on. I'll tell you what we should keep an eye on, Teddy, last night. Some big dog winners in Major League Baseball. Both the White Sox and the Marlins go on the road, Teddy, and mine some gold. Ivan Nova and the Sox take down Trevor Bauer in Cleveland and cash the 225. And, taking a look at this Chicago Cubs team, they can't, 16-4 in their last 20 games, playing, to me, the worst team in Major League Baseball. Cole Hamels pitching phenomenal baseball like it was the 2008 MVP World Series, Cole Hamels. And yet alone, look, this is why we bet the games, Teddy. Marlins take down a big dog, too.
Yeah, and the Marlins won despite the fact their pitchers issued 10 walks yesterday against the Cubs. Don Mattingly, that's probably not a very good blueprint in this ballpark with that team. Yeah, but it didn't matter because in the ninth inning, what happened? Pedro Strop came in and he walked 3 batters, and Miami took advantage, rallying for that 3-run deficit in the ninth. I believe that's the first ninth inning rally all year for Miami. Kudos to the Marlins. They're going to win every once in a while. They're just not going to win a whole lot. And the Orioles won yesterday as a big dog. They were only plus 150 and they were at home, but pretty good day if you were putting some of these dogs together in MLB action.
Yeah, Teddy, with the Marlins, forget about like ninth inning rallies. Maybe their only rally of the season and maybe the only one that they're going to get this year. So congratulations if you did cap on that. If we take a look, Teddy, in the NFL, yesterday we talked a little bit of Arizona Cardinals. The bottom of the barrel in the NFC West is what we're going to anticipate. Let's take a look a little bit where the cream rises to the top, the Los Angeles Rams, the NFC champions. Thank you to a little bit of help from some refereeing, but they did go 13-3 last year, Teddy. I lost money on the Super Bowl because I believed in the Rams would be ready for this game. Sean McVay completely outcoached on the offensive side of the ball by Bill Belichick and the Patriots, but it is what it is. If we take a look at this year, Teddy, not bad odds, 9-1 to win the 2019 championship, 4-1 to win the NFC, and their team total sitting at 10.5. A little bit of veteran leadership with Eric Weddle coming over. We did see last year 2 key ingredients in that Rams offense that we're going to want to keep an eye on this year. The status of Todd Gurley's knee, because even a couple weeks ago when he was interviewed for the first time, showing up for OTAs, it feels okay. And, he didn't get any surgery to fix it. We'll see if that hampers him down in the future for this next year. But also, once Cooper Kupp went down in that slot, Teddy, they missed a lot at wide receiver.
Sure. You're talking about the skill position talent. I'm more worried about the offensive line for LA, but I like to start the team previews by taking a thorough look at what happened last year. Last year, from a yards per play perspective, the Rams 0.4 on the positive side. So they were pretty good in that regard. They weren't a great team at running or particularly at stopping the run. They were a net minus 0.2 yards per rush between what they gained on offense and what they allowed on defense. Goff had a QB rating over 100. The defense allowed opposing quarterbacks to have a QB rating of about 94. So a little bit advantage for the QB play, although there may be a blueprint out there now about how to stop Jared Goff that wasn't available prior to that Super Bowl. And, of course, the Rams last year, plus 11 in turnovers margin, one of the best in the league, one of the top 5 in the league in positive turnover differential. That's something that they will need to continue to be good at in 2019 if they're going to be successful for their backers. From a strength of schedule standpoint, last year, basically an average strength of schedule. It's slightly easier this year, and I mean literally, like this little, not anything that's statistically significant about the schedule differential. Not much tougher this year than last year, like some of the teams we're going to talk about when we do these previews. You talk about the departures from this team, and again, this is a squad that made a lot of all-in moves last year. A lot of the guys couldn't stick around. And certainly on the offensive line, obviously Ndamukong Suh hasn't been re-signed. C.J. Anderson hasn't been re-signed. The safety, LaMarcus Joyner, the Raiders gave him $40 million. The ones that concerned me, you know, the center John Sullivan, the guard Roger Saffold, who's in Tennessee right now. This is an offensive line that they need to be successful. I'm not convinced they have the pieces. They did bring in Eric Weddle and Clay Matthews, two, you know, big names on defense, and that's been the way that LA's gone in recent years, going for the veteran defenders with big names, and it's paid off for them. Weddle and Matthews, I think both still have something left in the tank. And look who they signed as their backup quarterback in case Goff gets hurt. No Goff? Rams fans? Welcome to the Blake Bortles era. They give him $1 million guaranteed to be their backup for 2019.